tonight I thought we would talk about response versus reaction. And as usual, this should also help in our daily life in addition to our horse life. So we'll start with the definitions. Response, an answer or reply, as in words or and action. In biology, any behavior of a living organism that results from an external or internal stimulus. So any behavior that results from an external or internal stimulus. And reaction, this is so interesting to me, a reverse movement or tendency, an action in a reverse direction or manner, an action in response to some influence, event, etc. In physiology, the action in response to a stimulus, as if from any as of the system or of a nerve or muscle. So action in response to a stimulus, nerve or muscle. So the response, more of an answer or a reply. Hey, Meg. And reaction is an action in response to an influence. So why is it important to understand the difference is that for horses, reactions are instinctual. Their reactions to stimulus can be detrimental to their safety and to ours in this modern world, in this human world. And then people can also react instead of respond. And this also comes from our flight or fright response. And responding is more difficult, takes more patience, more awareness. Reactions happen in the heat of the moment and often are based on previous experiences, or the same as horses can be our natural reactions to things that are happening in our reptilian brain that cause us to flee from danger or freeze or fight. Sometimes these things can happen in the a lot of thought about it, and they don't always benefit us in the long run. Some of our reactions may have nothing to do with what's going on in the present moment. So responses, both with people and with horses, can be taught. And with people, learning about our natural tendencies will help us to change our responses toward the direction that we want them to go. So learning our natural habits to stimulus is important. Everyone is different because of our parents, because of environment, and because of outside influences, things that have happened to us in our past, and then also our physical strengths and our weaknesses. So some people that are very strong might have a certain tendency to respond or react in a certain way to something, where somebody who doesn't feel physically strong might react in a different way, and things of that nature, where your physical strengths and weaknesses are going to come in. I think that journaling is a really good way to help us to develop our awareness. The beginning of making any changes is that having that awareness of what are we actually doing. So if we're going to journal about it, we want to we could start by making a list of our physical strengths and weaknesses, the things that we believe we are strong in, and the things we believe are for instance, our weakest link. What and then looking at those things, in what ways do your strengths help you? In what ways could you actually utilize them better? In what ways do we feel hindered by our weaknesses? How do those things that we feel are our weaker links, how do they hold us back? And then where do we defend because we feel that we have a weakness, and we're trying to avoid that? And this idea of where we're defending or where we're avoiding, is there a way that we could actually start strengthening that weakness so that we didn't have to defend against it? And that can be a mental thing, or it can be an actual physical thing. So if you think about your strengths and weaknesses, many times when I'm teaching, people will say, well, that's my stronger leg, or yeah, that leg is my weaker leg. And in acknowledging that, that's awesome. Mentally, you're already setting yourself up for that another part of your body, or for that leg not to work. When we keep acknowledging, that's my weaker one, that's my stronger one, my left leg never works for me correctly. So the mental aspect is that we need to get on board with being curious. How can I strengthen that weaker leg? What exercises can I do that I feel like I gain more control there? Physically, other parts of your body might start to take over so that you don't feel that weakness as much. So if my left leg is not as strong as my right leg, do I stand over the neck because I know the horse is going to fall to the inside, but my left leg isn't strong enough? Where am I physically compensating or defending so that that weak link isn't interfering too much? And having this knowledge really helps us to be able to start to work on this our natural reaction to stimulus. The next thing you want to do is journal a bit about the tendencies that you noticed in your parents or in your teachers and trainers. Anything that came up, how do they deal with stress? How do they deal with pressure? How do they deal with fear? And hey, my dog making me crazy. Maybe some things that we start to do because we've seen other people do them and we don't even know that is happening. So that would be the next journaling exercise would be what tendencies did I notice either in my parents or in my teachers and my trainers? If you're going to stay just in the writing realm, were there people that you looked up to and you watched how they dealt with stress or fearful incidents? If you want to just think about your natural responses or reactions to things, what it can be anything that you witnessed your parents dealing with or people that you were around a lot as you were developing. And then, do you see any similarities to how you react to things? And journal a little bit about that. Are there reactions that they have or had that have really benefited you? And then are there reactions that you would prefer to start to work through and change that don't benefit you? Ones that you really do feel are good for you, is there ways that you can nurture those even more and take them to the next level? And then the ones that you find are not benefiting you, but are reactions, they're happening without you even thinking about it. Can I replace them with something more healthy? And if there are other people that were influential in your life, then absolutely journal a little bit about them as well. Because when people are in our proximity, and oftentimes we will a little bit mirror them. And so it could happen that we've adopted things from the people around us unknowingly. And then the last journaling part is to take a minute and write about environmental influences that might influence your stress and reaction level. So, are there times during the day, different things that are happening in your week or your month that where you might be affected by your environment, either in a negative or in a positive way? That can include the weather, really environmental weather, but it can also include people, stress at work, competition pressure, things that change in your surroundings for some reason. Maybe there's something that happens every week where there is a certain person riding, or something that happens at the farm every week while you're riding. Does the dumpster get emptied or something like this? And how do I react to that? And if it's happening on a regular basis, how am I defending against it if it's something that I really don't want to happen? Or if my horse starts to react on that badly, how am I preparing for that? Am I preparing for it in a positive way, or am I preparing for it in a way that's actually escalating? And so you want to spend a little time with your journal thinking and writing about how these things influence your reactions to anything in your horse life. How do they influence how you deal with your horse when he comes out and he seems a little bit unsettled today? Or if something changes in the schedule and all of a sudden your trainer is late or you are late, or the weather is bad, or you feel a little bit unwell one day. how do these things, how do I deal with these things? Do I have that, I don't feel super strong today. I'm going to take an easy day, but it's really important to me that I ride. But I'm going to enjoy my ride. I'm not going to push through and over today, and I'm just going to fight that and I'm going to do it anyway. Or I don't feel well today. I'm not up for it. I'm not even going to the barn today. So, how do these things influence your reactions? And then we just start to work through that. Are my knee jerk reactions to the things that are happening benefiting me? Or do I want to start to replace them with some thoughtful responses? And so now I think that you can see where this is going to go also with the horses. You want to continue with your journal to explore ways that you would authentically express yourself, and what it's important, really, really important to know that it's not the same for everybody, and that's totally okay. So responses are going to be related responses, things that you start to install instead of knee-jerk reactions. Responses will be related to your values and beliefs, and they may evolve and grow over time. If you're thinking about riding, I was thinking about that today. In the beginning, you're first learning how to ride, and maybe you're a little bit unsure. Are you going to respond to your horse if it, jigs a little bit, or goes a little bit faster than you anticipated? When you're a beginner rider, that reaction is going to be a little bit knee jerk, like, oh, I'm going to get tight. I'm going to I might not even think what my body is doing. My body just might, say, whoa, 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 what's happening? As I get more experience with my riding, my horse might jig, and that might make me giggle. Or I'm going to consciously ride my horse back into the walk, or I'm going to say, you know what, it's right, let's just go ahead and trot. But that response is going to be much different than that beginning reaction. And the same for if we're learning flying changes, for instance, and we're first learning flying changes, and our horse pops up a little bit behind, or even kicks out a little bit at our leg. Our reaction to that, the surprise, the tension, the stress about the mistake, is going to be much different than later on in our training, when we might even be trying to create more expressive flying changes. And so we might encourage our horse to do a little bit more, even at the risk of making a mistake. So these are the places where our reactions are going to develop into responses, and we want that to be happening as we're growing in our skill level. We want to be conscious about that. We don't want to hold on to these reactions as we actually get better and better and better with our riding and our skills. So it's just a really interesting way, and a little bit different avenue to take, to looking at building your mindset and building your skill level. So then we take that to the horses, and this is a place where I think a lot of people are sometimes differing in opinion And there are many, many different ways to train horses and different mindsets about how the horses accept training. You guys all know that I believe that we can teach the horses responses to aids, ask questions, and get answers that the horse is actually thoughtful about as well. And the more we create that comfortable horse that's doing what we want ultimately, but because they're giving in and they're utilizing their body better, they feel more comfortable in that shape. They feel more comfortable creating that movement in that way more willingly and more knowingly, rather than the people that feel that they need to manipulate the horses all the time, muscle the horses all the time, that if they let go, the horse is going to fall apart. If they're not um, coming with a lot of strength and a strong way of holding the horse together and a strong way of pushing the horse around the place, that the horse will not do what they want. There's many, many different ways to do it. And I'm not saying anybody's bad for picking other ways. I personally have just found that having that horse mentally participating with me as well has made my training flow much easier and is more enjoyable. So one of the most important things in that situation between your horse and you, so that you don't have that feeling that your horse is so nervous of making a mistake that it can't focus in a relaxed way on your aids. When your horse has time to create a learned response instead of flight or fright reaction, both of us will be safe. If my horse is in that flight and fright all the time, then there's going to become that point of no return. And that fear can put the horse that it would risk itself as well as me. I feel that if my horse is taking care of itself in a good way, he's taking care of me as well. But when horses become really frightened, and then they become frightened also of the aids you're giving them, there can be that place where they check out and they actually will put themselves in danger as well. And so relaxation is really top at the list for me in installing the correct responses and starting to get rid of their natural reactions to outside stimulus, or in some cases to our aids. So that's number one, is, really being aware of that relaxation. Second would be the idea to help your horse to operate as a unit. So what we're talking about is installing responses and replacing reactions. And it's really hard for human beings to think about walking on 4 legs instead of 2. But it's very, very important for us at all times to be aware that the horses are on 4 legs. And what we're trying to encourage is, with the weight of a rider, or if you're doing groundwork with the influence of a ground person, that the horse continues to operate as a unit. It does not become disjointed. So when your horse is free out in the field, I'm sure you can be amazed at how agile it is, how coordinated and fluid everything looks. And that's because they have that complete control. They have that, where do they want to go? And they have control of their body to take themselves there. And once we start saying we're going here, we're going there, we're going like this, we need to go faster, we need to go slower, they have the possibility to lose that fluent control through their whole body if we don't cultivate it. And that is what I really, really love about the groundwork, is that it helps the horse to relate something that's happening in the front to moving through the body to the behind. And some of the horses that we get have not been started in a way that cultivated that whole body being used as a unit. So if people are not teaching the horse about moving through the neck, if they're putting something like a side rein or even riding and balancing in the hand, something like this, all of a sudden the front starts to do one thing and the hinds start to do something unrelated. And as riders, if we're sitting on the horse, we're sitting in the center of gravity, and in our mind's eye, we always must be feeling that connection between the hind legs, the front legs, and the neck and the bit. And Renee says, my horse has been exceptionally spooky since the weather changed. Some spooks was like he's bucking over a leaf that blew up under his nose. We are experiencing that as well. So I readily knew what the issue was, but then he would seemingly randomly spook at the canter. Then I realized I had recently lost a bunch of weight. Go you. And now I need to choke up on my whip because I was accidentally hitting him in the canter. That's awesome. I love it. It's that's so cute. But this is awareness, right? This is awareness. We start to put these things in our minds about what's going on. And like you say, the weather and the leaves, and we have all these reasons. And then all of a sudden, here you say that there's like I'm actually physically doing something that's causing my horse to be reactive. And that is, there's so many times that go unnoticed with this, and then we react on their reactions, and that then we start this bad cycle because they learn, when they do this, we do that, when we do that, they do that, and it goes around in these unhealthy circles. So the it's so important to work with the horse's brain and with the body and develop that trust and that confidence. And this is bringing us to that another thing that we can insert here is the training pyramid, right? So how do we know if our horse is not operating as a unit? Instantly, you know it if your horse is pacing, right? There's a natural rhythm to the walk, a natural 4-beat rhythm to the walk with a natural nod at the end. And that needs to happen whether we're in collected walk, where the hind feet are just stepping to the footfalls of the front feet, or that 4-beat rhythm is happening if we're doing extended walk and the horse is over tracking and that nose is going forward and downward. So if our horse starts to pace, that means that there is a dysfunction between the front of the horse and the back of the horse. There is not going through the whole body. The back is no longer moving. The front legs are doing something, hind legs are doing something. And then often the horses that are pacing, you will also see, instead of the nose going forward and out or forward and down, and it will, in the front part of the walk, the nose will come in because the horse doesn't feel like it can walk through its whole body for some reason. Or you'll see the neck will come up and back. And so the back goes down and the neck comes up when the legs come forward. So then again, you've got that disengagement of the hind legs. And this is where the horse does not feel in control of its body. The body is not working as a unit. What would be other things like that? If your horse starts to do a 4-beat canter, or if the horse is trotting in an open way and all of a sudden gets a little bit, the diagonals aren't similar anymore. That can happen from lameness, but it can also happen from the horse not operating as a unit. And all of a sudden, one diagonal will start to be a little longer and the other diagonal a little shorter, or it can be faster and slower. But these are the things that then we need to slow the work down, help the horse to get operating as a unit, and then increase. So is it slow down because I'm asking too much movement? Is it slow down because I'm asking too difficult movements within the gait? So maybe doing a 20-meter circle works perfectly fine, but when I start to make that circle 20 meters or 10 meters, my horse isn't collected enough, isn't understanding that connection between the front and the back well enough, and it starts to get 4-beat, or it starts to get, some horses, when they get a little bit frantic, they actually get 2 beats. Does it still have, if we're cantering, does it still have that natural nod and that relaxation in the back and that ability to step under itself? Or is it getting tensed from the higher degree of difficulty? And then all of a sudden the feet start hitting the ground uncomfortably. So we want to create influence through learned responses that can be repeated. And because the horse starts to understand it and repeatedly answers the question correctly, then we can increase the difficulty. And if we don't have that, question, answer, reward, question, answer, reward, and it can't be repeated, then we need to explain a little better before we start making things more difficult. And I think that's super, super important, and the feeling of a horse working as a unit, the look of a horse working as a unit, these things are, they take a little bit of effort to get used to. It's not something that that everybody, especially in this day and age where we see a lot of things that aren't going like that, then it's harder to discern. And when we see people that are holding the horses physically together, then it is sometimes more difficult if you don't start looking at all the little details of what, is that correct? Is the horse understanding what's going on and participating, or is it just being muscled? We know when it feels that feeling that if I let go, everything's going to fall apart. That means your horse is not understanding. That means it's not operating on its own legs as a unit. And we oftentimes, especially as women, take responsibility for that. I didn't do that right. I didn't tell him right. I wasn't helping him enough. But oftentimes it's just a matter of stepping back, explaining the job, explaining the question, explaining the answer a little bit better and then moving on again, not taking responsibility and doing too much, right? If I do Überstreichen and I give the reins forward and my horse falls down, that I was not wrong to Überstreichen, right? My horse gave me an incorrect response. So I need to go back, teach the horse a little bit more better to stay on the seat better. I need to prepare for my Überstreichen better, ride with my seat, ride with my core a little better, and try again. And then reward the horse when it does stand on his own legs, and repeat and teach if he doesn't stand on his own legs. But I don't want that to be, well, I gave the reins away, so my horse fell down, so I can't give the reins away anymore. Okay? This is the kind of things I'm teaching our response. A horse that's leaning at the rein, using the reins as balance, is going to react badly when I throw the reins away. Whether it's to fall apart, to put its head up in the air, to get nervous, these things are going to happen because the horse is reacting to something I did not teach it correctly. But a horse that is being taught that the reins are not balanced, right? The reins are not balanced. And so you're going to teach him the reins are for steering, for stopping, or I can make you supple. And in doing that, I have my seat, and my seat is going to have influence. And when I give away the reins, you need to stand up on your own legs. And I teach that response. Okay. And these are the ways that we build more and more connection and collection with the horses. So third thing that we want to keep in mind when we're trying to replace reactions with responses is knowing what you want before you ask. This is going to help you to be in a good place to reward the horse if the right thing happens. So your when you know what you want before you ask, you're setting yourself up for success. You're already going to know a little bit if your horse is in a reaction place or a responding place. And how we feel that your reactions are like, like we talked about, like that knee jerk natural reaction that happens from, as Renee said, the leaves blowing under, or that defending way that's holding themselves from something that feels bad. It takes time to create that trust with your horse that they know what to do and respond in the correct way. This is a trusting thing. If we don't have in our mind's eye what is the right response when I give those reins away, and in my mind's eye or in my body is a little bit of the defending against what we think might happen bad, we will not have the posture to give the horse that wonderful reward for doing the right thing. Our body language will be out of whack. And that tiny little bit of timing where the horse actually responds correctly and you find yourself exactly in the right place so that you both feel as a unit in that moment becomes impossible. I have to give the reins away, but I hope my horse is going to, I know my horse is going to lean on them. That creates a tension and a holding and a defending in your body. And sitting back, knowing what I want when I give those reins away, if it doesn't happen, I'm still sitting in a good way. I'm still riding with my seat. I still have my balance. My horse is the one that's like, whoa, 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 what just happened? Okay, you made a mistake. Let's try that again. All right. So you can reward so much quicker if you are imagining the right answer before you give the aid and really know what it is. If I'm asking my horse to go more forward, there can be some different ways about that, right? So if I'm warming up and I want my horse to go more forward, I want that reaction on my leg, right? And sometimes in the warming up, that's going to be speed. Sometimes it's going to be a longer step. These kind of things are going to happen. But I just know that I want that. Hey, come on, let's go. I want more energy. I want a response on my leg. 3/4 of the way through the ride, that what I want from my leg when I want my horse to go more forward is going to look a little bit different. I'm going to develop that through the ride. And I'm going to start to put a little bit more criteria on it. In the beginning, forward is forward. My body language is going to be going. My reins are going to stay maybe with the mouth, but with an open door, right? Later, I'm starting to work more upper level movements. I want you to be hot on the leg, but I want you to get more round. I want you to step more underneath the center of gravity. So in that moment, I've taught the horse the response to the leg. I've taught the horse the acceptance of the hand. And now I can start to meld those things together into more collection or into lateral work. Okay. But if I don't know in my body language what it feels like when it gives me that forward response, I'm not going to have an easy time rewarding. And we talked about that a little bit, where if we feel that we aren't yet equipped with our responses and our our body language rewards, we can replace them with our voice in the beginning, and that's awesome. But it's having that in your mind's eye. What is it that I want? If I want shoulder in, my mind's eye has to be thinking about shoulder in, not thinking about not falling off the track, not thinking about not slowing down, not thinking about keeping the horse's head from coming up, right? I have to have the right answer in mind. So that's what I'm talking about with this, knowing what you want before you ask in the positive sense, not in that net. I want to ask for a flying change. I have in my mind that feeling of the canter, the feeling of the leg, the feeling of the jump. I don't have that, oh no, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. He's going to buck up. I know he is. I'm just getting ready for the bucking up, right? And I actually create it with that tension and with that not giving the direction. Okay. So when we defend against what we don't want, it feels bad, whether it's the horse defending against us because they feel that something is going to be bad, or whether it's us defending against them, it's going to feel bad. When our horses defend against our aids, it feels bad. And that defending is a lack of understanding. If they knew what to do, they would do it, and then it would feel good. So we need to go back to teaching when we get the wrong response. The reactions are most often defense mechanisms to present to perceived pain or harm. Okay, so it might not be you that taught them that this is going to feel bad, but it might be you that needs to teach them a different way, and sometimes that takes time. So journaling about your horse and its natural tendencies will help you to notice places where you can assist him to learning better, and then eventually learning more advanced answers to the questions. So if you observe your horse in nature, out in the paddock, or even in the stalls and things like that, you're going to see a little bit of their natural tendencies. What are the natural tendencies when you are grooming them, and things like that? And that might also help you to discern what's going on when you're riding, not take full responsibility, but then instead take on that idea of the teacher, that role of the teacher. So when you're planning your ride, take intentions to stimulus and work to create a program that will teach rather than push up against these tendencies. We're replacing reactions with responses. And knowing how to get to the positive, even in small steps, will help you get the long-term results you're looking for. We're laying that groundwork, that base that we talk about, that's indestructible. Small steps going in the right direction are enough. So that is a lot. Does anybody have any questions about any of that, what we talked about? Nothing? Any questions about things that are going on for you guys right now where this might help? Nothing at all? Does anybody have something now, like we start thinking about that? Like, oh, wait a minute. Here we go. Hold on it. I don't know why. You can't read the whole thing. Here we go. What's the best way to mentally keep yourself from riding defensively in your experience? Yeah, for me, the things that I say to myself is always about what I want. And if I find myself thinking about what's going wrong or what I don't want to happen, I really need to turn that voice around. So, for instance, we need to go more forward here. I need you to pay attention here. I need you to move off my leg better. I need you to slow down. We're going to make a shoulder in. Hey, that's awesome. This is really good shoulder in. Yeah, keep going. It's okay. I know it's hard. I need a little more angle. No, you're not listening to my leg. Hey, get up here now. And I have that little bit of running commentary And if I lose the running commentary, I might go, back and take a break or change the subject. I am not one of those people that goes around, if a horse is spooking at the corner, I'm not one of those people that's like, okay, go by again, go by again, go by again. I I like to think about what does my horse need to understand from my riding so that I can take him confidently past that area or confidently deal with that problem? Because I think this is an awesome question that you have, Renee. Most of the time, that defensiveness is going to come from a horse that's like spooking in a certain area. And don't they always pick at home, one place that they don't want to go by or something like that? I always go to a place in the ring where the horse is comfortable and I reinstall the software. This means go slower. This means go faster. This means bend in this direction. This means go in this direction. This means bend in that direction. This means go in that direction. Yeah, this means stand up off that leg. And once I've reinstalled the software, then as I'm going by that place, I have to be very, very clear to ask the questions and reward the answers, right? So I don't want to get to that place and be like, don't spook, don't spook, don't spook. What I do want to do is I want to say, hey, slow down a little bit. Now go forward a little bit. Hey, could you look this direction for me? Good. Okay. I don't want to drop the horse, but I don't want to hold the horse. Horses that feel like they need to go away and feel cooped up, then do have to go away. Horses that feel stress about something, but then you are giving them instructions and those rewards, their mind doesn't go because all of a sudden you're not in charge by muscling, you're in charge by giving instructions. Just like the mare that would be sitting on the hill, giving those horses instructions about, we need to run away right now. No, everything is fine. It's the same. So just think about what you want. How are you telling your horse to do it? And then say it in your head. Yeah, I can, put your legs on, Nancy. Don't forget to keep him supple on the inside, Rain. Hey, you're not listening to the suppling on the, okay, good. There we go. But that kind of talk, if you, anything that says don't, is going to get you into defensive. Your self-talk is the biggest thing to talk your body into doing the right thing. Absolutely. I love that question. I hope that helps. And then I'm working on bringing my confidence back up with Scarlett. What are the groundwork exercise I could do beside the lunging? Yeah, so that's the pattern that we do with the halter that you've seen a little bit. And then we take that farther. You can take her in hand with leg yields. We can do it. We can work on it together. I don't think I have any videos of those things. But you take those leg yields and you take them down the long side, and you'll be amazed when she starts to relax into the groundwork. The confidence that she'll start to get in her body, and I think she hopefully will also help to let go a little bit in that neck, which will ultimately help her to be more relaxed in the back. But we can there's definitely a whole encyclopedia of groundwork stuff that will help you also to see where is she getting blocked? How is she moving? And that kind of thing. That makes, I think that it's so important with we have this mental idea that if we are not getting on, that our horses aren't learning anything. And for Renee as well, as the weather starts changing and the wind is up and it's cold and these kind of things, there's so much we can do with the groundwork, not just running the horses around in a circle on the lunge to get the juice out, but actually teaching them better responses to, and we can do a little bit of bag training and things like that. The bag training that we do, or noise training or touch training, is quite a bit different than what they do as far as like sacking out or desensitizing the horses. What we're doing is literally teaching the horses a different response, different response to stress. So that idea of, opening and giving in and relaxing to pressure rather than flight, fright, or freeze from pressure. The thing about losing the attention is that really has a lot to do with the horses getting into a different state and not and getting to the point where we don't need to manage that state, so that and that it says like step by step, little steps. The I think you saw when we did the camp that idea of the horse is standing at the end of the line, and that's your job, is to stand there. And there's an art to creating that, because we want to help the horses when they get nervous. And and your horse is a little bit complicated in that way. I will totally agree, actually, both of you. But that taking that step by step, and not sometimes the horses have to get over the hump, right? And you've seen it, Renee, you've seen me. There's that like, hey, 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 that is not it. Yes, that's it, right away, right? Oh, doesn't that feel better? And so we're trying to, the small steps are having your eye on the ball of what's what's your target. And but when the horses are ramping themselves up and getting themselves into such a state that they are making themselves miserable, then we have to like, hey, that you have to give me a different answer. I need a different answer. The thing is, the pressure on and the pressure off. The pressure off is so important. And having that body language, that once they start to tune into you, that you are really in control of your body language, so that it's worthwhile to them. And I think that these things take, I have to say, for me, and I don't always do it right, 100%. I still can make mistakes. But think about that, knowing that your horse is going to jump a little bit, telling him that that is not the right answer, and then so quickly being so relaxed. Yeah, that's it. Doesn't that feel better? And instead, we're a little worried, like, what if we do that? Is he going to run away? I don't want to lose him. So you have to be in a safe place. You have to have the fence around. If you lose the horse, then that's a little bit their fault. And we sometimes we have to put up with that part. If you don't have a fence, then the whole way that you're going to operate does have to be different. But that for me is, sometimes I will create the situation that the horse runs away from me and I have to go with it for a minute. And then the reward is when the feet stop, right? And then all of a sudden they're like, oh wait, I want to be with you. I feel more comfortable when I'm connected with you. Why did I even want to look out there? That's, this is so much better for me. But this is that it's an art. It takes a lot of practice. It takes mistakes, watching the body language, not getting stressed, repeating it.